Now, very first story, pharmacies who serve National Health Insurance Authority subscribers are threatening a return to the days of cash and carry unless the current standoff between suppliers of pharmaceutical products and the NHI is resolved soon. They explain that they would have no choice but to deny service to those who present NHI cards. It follows a decision by the Ghana Chamber of Pharmacy to suspend supplies to its NHI-affiliated clients effective Monday, February 10, over the authority's failure to reimburse its members for supplies dating back to last year.
Though the Chamber of Pharmacy ultimatum took effect from today, some community pharmacies who rely on them for their supplies say they have had to bear the brunt of the action for some time now.
We will get our drugs from Osons, we will get some from Ernest Chemist, we will get some from Kena Pharma. They think that they are suffering too much because they are not getting their monies to be able to pay their principal. I have already made my orders and I'm hoping to be supplied by the close of the day or latest by tomorrow.
West Point Chemist, just like the other pharmacies who serve patients from Kolebu, Ghana's biggest health facility, and its environs, say the situation is already critical but could get worse if nothing is done about it in the next few days.
Oh, I tell you, we can't go more than a week because you could see the demand here is very, very high. People are waiting patiently to be supplied with their prescriptions. So if they don't, within a week, we would have to fold up. Less than a week, we would have to fold up.
People are using other people's money to do business. And if you take our institution, Raw Chemist, what is happening is that people have picked up medication from us and our money is locked up. So yes, to an extent, they are justified, so that at the end of the day, if they are paid, we will also be paid.
The Kolebu Teaching Hospital also relies on the Chamber of Pharmacy for stocks. An official who would not want to be named, however, denies it will be affected. But the chairman of the Government and Hospital Pharmacists Association says there is no way Kolebu would be spared the impact of the supplies action.
You find out that most of our facilities now have about 80% of patients who come on NHIs. There are a lesser percentage who come and do cash and carry. And so if you realize that the chunk of the money that will be used to purchase these drugs actually go to NHIs, and NHIs is not reimbursing the facilities for them to be able to purchase the drugs or pay for the drugs that have been purchased. So most often than not, these drugs are actually given on a 90-day period, and so on a credit. So after the 90 days, if they are not paid, you put them into a very awful situation.
He also would not rule out a return to the cash and carry system as threatened by the community pharmacies.
That means that some NHI people will be denied their medicines unless they probably buy it on a cash and carry basis. And I don't think that would be very fair to the patient.
Meanwhile, pressure is already beginning to mount on the few pharmacies serving NHIA subscribers as more of the shops begin to run out of stocks.
They are owing us. In fact, last year they were able to pay us up to the month of June. So from July down to present time, they are yet to give us our checks. Though the bills that we have sent is up to November. We are yet to send our December bills. But the ones that have been vetted, the bill that we have submitted to the authority that have been vetted, they are yet to give us from July, August, September, October, November. They haven't given those monies to us.
Atani, Joynews.
Now, in a related development, the Chamber of Pharmacy is described as woefully inadequate. 104 million Ghana cedis released by the National Health Insurance Authority to settle part of its indebtedness to the suppliers. Communications manager of the NHI, Selom Adonu, told Joy FM the amount cover claims for the months of August and September 2013, and that the authority will settle the remaining claims to the service providers as soon as the Ministry of Health releases the funds. My head of research at the Ghana Chamber of Pharmacy, Stanley Ejay, who was also on Joy FM, says the amount released cannot cover the operational costs of the service providers. The Center for Freedom and Accuracy has blamed the free fall of the cedi on faulty economic fundamentals and government over expenditure to the tune of over $4 billion in the run-up to the 2012 election. The Bank of Ghana has announced a number of directives to halt the slide of the currency. But the CFA's Executive Director, Andrea Wuni, at a news conference described them as an attack on the private sector and charged government to concentrate its efforts on revamping and promoting local Ghanaian businesses as a measure to strengthen the cedi.
Our position is that those who took the decision to sideline the Tema oil refinery and rather go into European markets to spend $2.6 billion annually to import finished petroleum products for Ghana are the ones who must be held directly responsible for the crisis.
Andrea Wini also identified the public officials who supervised and sanctioned Ghana's loan agreement with China as also responsible for the fall of the cedi. He questioned why the country is being required to pay commitment fees on the undrawn sum and at the same time meet its obligation of selling its oil to the Chinese, even though most of the CBD loan has not been disbursed.
Indeed, as a result of the delay in the disbursement of the Chinese Development Bank loan, Ghana has resorted into the panic allocation of our oil revenue. As we speak now, $290 million of Ghana's oil revenue are being applied to projects that were actually earmarked to be financed by the Chinese loan, and thus depriving other critical sectors of these resources.
He made some recommendations, he says, should halt the decline of the Ghana cedi.
The foreign exchange crisis that the country is going through is a matter of demand and supply. A true and proper solution will be to increase supply or reduce demand. But the focus should be on the governmental level and not to go on a blistering attack on the private sector and individuals as we are seeing now.
According to Andrea Wini, the solution to the fall of the cedi was not in legislation, controls or commands, but a market problem that needed a market solution.
Now, Cabinet has, however, backed measures instituted by the Bank of Ghana to control the depreciation of the cedi. According to a statement issued by Information Minister Mahama Yariga, Cabinet has also endorsed the actions aimed at ending the dollarization of the economy and restore the stability of the cedi. Cabinet is, however, said to have raised concerns about the lack of clarity in some of the directives, especially with regard to foreign currency accounts and their impact on the operations of exporters and businesses. Meanwhile, the statement says Cabinet remains committed to the implementation of a number of policies that would reduce import dependency, promote consumption of local produce, thereby addressing the current account imbalance. In other news, the moderator of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, has criticized parliamentarians, ministers of state and some members of the judiciary, he says, abandoning their jobs to go to school. He blamed them for contributing to weak governance and also for depriving the country of the needed human resources for development. Rafiq Salam's report from WA.
Delivering a sermon on the theme, The True Way of Life, to mark the dedication of an ultra-modern structure put up by the Epiphany Congregation of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana in WA, Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate drew lessons from the Gospel of Matthew 5:13-20, which taught Christians to be like salt and light. He charged society to stand up and fight corrupt practices. He did not hide his feelings on the number of parliamentarians, cabinet ministers and some members of the judiciary who have abandoned their jobs to go to school.
Are still going to school, but will not concentrate fully on their service to the nation. Is Ghana short of graduates who have completed their schooling? No doubt, there is not only low productivity in this country, but the country is also not being able to generate the needed revenue to pay workers.
Right Reverend Professor Marty therefore called on the leadership of the various arms of government to rise up and act quickly to salvage the country from such acts.
Against schooling or education, neither am I speaking against capacity building, because I myself, I was a seminary and university professor, and I know the worth of higher education. But there are certain jobs you finish school before you get them. Is that true? There are jobs that are not for boys and girls. If you give those jobs to them, they will mess up and will all suffer.
The Presbyterian General Assembly moderator also waded into the issue of homosexuality and condemned the behavior of the two Reverend Archbishops from Canterbury and York for sending letters to some African leaders to accept what he called sinful act.
They are no longer the light Jesus is talking about. They can no longer guide their own country to come out of the practice of this act that is incompatible with the Bible, which they claim they preach. How dare they try to guide others? The blind man leading the one who sees.
The Wa Municipal Chief Executive, Isahaku Nuhu Putiaha, thanked the church for its immense contribution to the development of society. He appealed to the congregation not to use the place to preach only the gospel, but to also preach about peace and unity, which he said are vital for development.
Ghana needs an estimated $15 billion over a 10-year period to fully address challenges faced in the water, road, energy, aviation and housing sectors. That is according to economists at a roundtable to discuss the establishment of the Ghana Infrastructure Fund. The economists suggest $1.5 billion will be needed annually to start dealing with the challenges in these sectors if they are to be eliminated within a decade.
A section of economic and development experts met to draw up a roadmap for the establishment of the Ghana Infrastructure Fund, mentioned by the Finance Minister in his 2014 budget. The fund is aimed at bridging the infrastructural gap in the country. The meeting held in Accra on Monday follows the inauguration of a 5-member advisory committee headed by Ato Ahoy. Stakeholders at the roundtable discussed, among others, the legal and governance, investment objectives and operations of the Ghana Infrastructure Fund. Chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Paul Victor Obin, noted the GIF will not compete with other existing funds, but will focus on developing economic infrastructure.
Well, the Ghana Infrastructure Fund, if it comes into place, it may perhaps be able to absorb other funds that are doing bits and pieces of infrastructure, which also crowd out other activities in the budgets. For instance, I would like to see whether if this fund becomes permanent and it grows and becomes sustainable, whether it will be necessary for us to get a GET fund to finance, say, educational infrastructure, or other funds that will finance productive assets and so forth and so on. But all will depend upon what the committee proposes to government to form the base of the infrastructure for the purposes of considering this fund.
Finance Minister Sek Tekbe indicated the fund would help in the proper management of petroleum revenue.
The fund to be the vehicle through which the nation can utilize a portion, if not all, of the petroleum revenues, then would have been going a long way in achieving the foresight of those who drafted the concept which led to the formulation of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, which act itself, as we said in the budget, will undergo the initial review, and we are working on that to go to Parliament.
Ranking Member of Parliament Select Committee on Finance, Dr. Antonia Kutose, also called for external support for the fund.
Still to come in the bulletin, the opposition New Patriotic Party has officially closed filing of nominations for executive positions in the party. We'll bring you that and more when we come back from the break. The opposition New Patriotic Party has officially closed filing of nominations for executive positions in the party. At the close of the nomination at 5 p.m. Monday, February 10, 44 people had filed their nominations out of the 46 who initially picked the forms. Professor Michael Kwe, former second Deputy Speaker of Parliament and MP for Domekwa constituency, is said to have pulled out of the race for the position of National Chairman, whilst Muhammad Mahmoud also opted out of those contending for National Organizer. Vetting is expected to begin on Wednesday, February 12, for junior ranking officers, with the top executives due to appear on Thursday, February 13. The NPP will hold its National Delegates Conference on April 12 at Tamale to elect new leaders to lead the party into election 2016. Elsewhere, executives of the New Patriotic Party in the Wenchi constituency in the Brong-Ahafo region have denied a senior member of the party, Professor George Janbafo, was chased out by the youth of Nwase during a visit to the community. The executives at a news conference said the media reports are being peddled to create divisions within the party. Nestor Kafui Ajuma sent this report.
The Wenchi NPP constituency executives blamed detractors for peddling the falsehood in a statement read by the constituency communications officer Kwame Sarah Mensah. The executives noted the need to ensure unity ahead of the party's congress in Tamale. He further denied allegations that Professor Janbafo worked to get the former constituency chairman, Kwame Edu, out of office. Nestor Kafui Ajuma's report.
Residents of Mankrong in the Ayinciano district of the Eastern region have threatened not to vote in future elections if the government fails to improve social infrastructure, especially health facilities. According to them, sick persons are rushed to the Suhum Government Hospital, which is about 10 kilometers away.
Mankrong is in the Ayinciano district of the Eastern region. It is a deprived community. The major economic activity of the over 5,000 population is farming and gari processing. Social amenities are lacking. The community lacks a modern market, clinic, and has poor roads. The only bridge linking the community to the rest of the country is in a poor state. Some residents say they will not partake in any civic responsibility if their social amenities are not improved.
From here to Johnson in Ukraine, the see how from now, Sikan Kutraw, and I say, Bibiko Yawa, Ansana Ubenyaka, Yadu do Suhumuno, Nani Panu.
Assemblyman for the Mankrong electoral area, Enoch Francis, said all efforts to get the Ayenswano district to support a community-based club in putting up a health facility has failed.
As an assemblyman, what I've done about it is I've wrote to the district assembly, the various assembly. Formerly we were at Sumkrabakuta district, but currently we are at Ayenswano. We wrote to them that this is the problem that my people are facing. But as at now, there is no even a single step that the assembly have taken to that.
Young Daniel Asamoah and his sisters rely on the Odikrong stream for water for domestic chores. They explained they have no option. Haruna Yusuf Wumpuni's report from the Eastern Region.
Over 725 children identified and rescued from the engagement in worst forms of child labour in the Amenfi West and Central Districts of the Western Region have received free educational materials. The intervention by the International Labour Organization and partners is to eliminate child labour in the two districts.
Child labour is defined as work that deprives children of their potential and dignity. It also refers to work that is mentally, physically, socially and morally dangerous and harmful to children, as well as interfering with their schooling. In Ghana, a majority of parents, especially in rural and cocoa-growing communities, depend on their children to work on farms, to earn a living and support their education. An exercise to eliminate child labour recently conducted by the Global Response Initiative, GLORY, of the International Cocoa Initiative, ICI, in the Amenfi Western Central Districts of the Western Region, identified about 725 children in 10 communities to have been engaged in the worst forms of child labour. This is despite the two districts being the second highest cocoa production areas in the country. Many of the parents of these children, who are aged between 9 and 14, attribute their behaviour to poverty. Most of the rescued children either abandoned their education or absented themselves during classes to go and work on cocoa farms belonging to their parents or employers. One of the worst hit communities is Yurase, where 90 children were identified. The rescued children were provided with free educational materials at a ceremony at Yurase near Asankragwa. Meanwhile, parents of these children, numbering over 300, were also given training in alternative livelihoods in the areas of beekeeping, grass cutter rearing, soap making, and others. They were also given startup kits to help them on their new endeavours. One of the parents, Sebastian Kweku Bimpong, commended the initiative. The Field Officer for Global Response Initiative, Emmanuel Osubuabeng, explained the importance of this exercise.
Previously, when we came here, we found out that most of the parents use their children to go to farm at the end of the term so that they can get money to buy all these stuff that we are giving it to them this afternoon. So why don't we, what ILO, IPEC decided to do is, then why don't we support them with these school items so that in the beginning of every term, they won't use their children to go and do those hard work or hazardous work, which can affect the children in future.
The District ILO Project Coordinator, Charity Dodu, said the move to support the elimination of child labour is a result of an international threat of sanctions on cocoa from Ghana, which called for both government and stakeholder action towards the elimination of child labour, especially on cocoa farms.
The recent child labour survey done by NEPLEC in 2008 ranked this district, Amenfi West and Central, as the first highest when it comes to child labour in its worst forms. We are the second in cocoa production and the first in child labour. And that has called for more action to help eliminate child labour here. That's how serious the issue is. But with current intervention, the situation has calmed down.
Police in the northern region say they have identified a suspect who attempted to murder a female medical student of the University for Developmental Studies, UDS, Salma Aisha Yakubu, at 4 Community Snake Flats, a suburb of Tamale. The suspect, Swale Abubakari Yakubu, who is on the run, has subsequently been declared wanted by an Accra Circuit Court, which has also issued a warrant for his arrest. The suspect is said to be a relative of the victim. He is 24 years old, slim, 5 feet 4 inches in height and dark in complexion, and an electrician bearing a thin tribal mark on the left cheek. Elsewhere, a man in his early 20s was crushed to death on a motor scooter in the Volta regional capital Ho on Sunday. Divine Mensah was riding with his friend on one of the major streets in the town.
A loaded Metro mass transport vehicle collided head-on with Divine and his friend, Saviour Bodo, on the scooter, fatally injuring them. According to eyewitnesses, the two men were crushed by the bus in the middle of the road as both the bus and scooter were overtaking other vehicles while coming from opposite sides of the road, killing the rider at the scene. Home municipal police officers were called to the scene soon after the incident occurred at between 1:30 and 2 p.m. but the rider was pronounced dead on the arrival. The body of the rider has since been deposited at the morgue, while his friend is still undergoing treatment at the Volta Regional Hospital. The bus and the mangled scooter are currently in possession of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Volta Regional Police Headquarters. The Home Municipal Police say they are conducting investigations into the matter. Comlado's report from the Volta region.
All right, coming up in business, Sashi water producers say they cannot be blamed for a recent increase in the price of the products. We also have a reaction from Fitch to the recent developments in the Ghanaian economy. Abigail Adumakwenchi will be back. We will be back after the break with business news.
Time now for some business reports. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Now, ratings agency Fitch says the massive interest rate hike and new foreign exchange controls by the Bank of Ghana alone may prove inadequate to stop the free fall of the Ghana cedi. The Bank of Ghana last week increased the policy rate to 18% by 200 basis points and introduced a series of measures to stabilize the local currency. These include restrictions on foreign currency denominated loans, repatriation of export proceeds, margin accounts for import bills, and revised operating procedures for foreign exchange bureaus, and halting the use of dollars for local transactions. But Fitch says all these measures must be completed quickly with programs to address the rising public debt and government expenditure. According to the ratings agency, these additional measures would address growing domestic macroeconomic imbalances, which have contributed largely to the cedi's depreciation. Fitch's comment on the latest measures should mean that the agency is still not satisfied with measures taken to tackle the huge budget deficit, which could have influenced their decision on a possible review of the country's credit worthiness, which they downgraded last year from B+ to B. Away from that, tax policy advisor at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Edward Labisian, says government is likely to introduce taxes charged on the profits of mining firms after global gold prices go up. Although there are arguments the country could be shortchanged following the move to defer the taxes currently, he insisted that will not happen as government is rigorously monitoring and doing several consultations on the matter.
When the oil prices went as high as 1,900, you see, this was an exogenous factor which was not commanded by the mining companies. It was a world situation. So the world movement then was for other countries to take part in the windfall. And there are a lot of literature, and we did a lot of consultation. But somehow, you see, when there's a crisis in the world, everybody takes refuge in gold. But when the economy starts picking up, then gold prices do fall. So the prices fell as low as 1,200. So at that moment, the basis of the windfall I'm not saying might have disappeared. So we said, let's look at it again. And that is where we are. There's enough literature. We had consultation with some experts who came. They spoke to the mining companies. But I want to stress to the mining companies, the government will listen to their protestation and their submissions, and we are not going to act capriciously. If we are all looking at it dispassionately. When there's a windfall in the world, it may trigger.
Civil society organization Third World Network has condemned moves by ECOWAS to initial the Economic Partnership Agreement and subsequently sign the EPA on February 17. They have called on the Ghanaian government not to be incited by ECOWAS to sign the pact, as it will wipe out jobs in the manufacturing sector and deprive the economy of revenue. Level meeting in Senegal last January agreed to initial the Economic Partnership Agreement of the EU after over 10 years of objecting to the demands of the agreement. They have decided to speed up the process by excluding technical experts and have planned to sign the EPA by February 17 after a ministerial meeting. The pact will give the EU 75% access to ECOWAS markets.
The ECOWAS negotiators, they only arrived at that 75 after they sacrificed our manufacturing sector. So whether you are talking about pharmaceuticals, you are talking about insecticides, you are talking about the light manufacturing sectors in Ghana, they've sacrificed those ones. So they don't need protection according to ECOWAS negotiators. And you know the implication. One, these are the sectors that are very key in terms of any industrial development. You move from light industrial sector to heavy industrialization. And so once you sacrifice these ones, that's the end of your industrialization. If you look at the agreement, we are going to forgo revenue that we control. And so if you look at Ghana, for instance, according to the UN Economic Commission for Africa, we are going to lose the revenue annually over $300 million.
But there are concerns the move might force Ghana to ratify the agreement after initialing the interim EPA in 2007. The Third World Network, however, says government should not be pressurized to sign.
If we want, as a country, we want to continue to export raw materials, and for the rest of our life, just like the agreement is talking about, it means that we only produce cocoa beans, send it to Europe, you produce banana, send to Europe, and then import back the finished products. And so the discussion these days in the Ghanaian economy about CD depreciation, to continue to depreciate today, it won't stop. It doesn't matter how much millions that the Bank of Ghana pumps in the economy.
Well, civil society organizations are raising a lot of critical issues, as you have heard, but the choice still remains for government to sign on to this agreement. The deadline is October this year, and the clock is ticking for government to make a decision. Now, whether signing on to it is good or bad, the choice still is in the hands of government. But what we have been told is that government would not take any decision that would come back to hurt the economy. Sachet water producers say they cannot be blamed for a recent increase in the price of the product. Joynews' checks indicate a sachet, which used to sell at 10 pesos, is now selling at between 15 pesos and 20 pesos. But the producers explain they have not sanctioned any such price increase.
Some retailers we spoke to in the Central Business District of Accra say they have increased their prices following reports on radio.
We turn 1,500, so big 1,000. So to me, man. Last week Friday, no more announcement says I was here to 20 pesos, but 20 pesos now. Okay, so 20 pesos is here now. I'm going to be 20. I just say you had mom 15. I will more after they are started to 20 pesos.
Hey, it's soon. One I yet on obi o home man what to water that. Enwa nti say foforo no onto obi nkan nti odo ton dada wo no ansana wa eden foforo no ayi wa ton 10 15 pesos 15
so the maybe I go find na ton my
and as you see am I say yes ye betutum enso me nte hwe TV na me hwe bi nti me sore no aseka ye yo menam enti sesi amuna ye hwe mo.
There had been suggestions that a price increase is linked with the recent sharp depreciation in the value, which has affected the cost of production. But the chairman of the Greater Accra branch of the Association of Sachet and Packaged Water Producers says there has been no announcement of a price increase.
The position of the National Association was that, you see, the producers have not changed their price. Now, if they are going to go to 20, it will look out of line. So we want the 15 to rule. So since your women say they want the 15, then support them in that. You know, But he was thinking that the problem with the 5 peso coin will still come up, So he came up with the 20, But when the producers revise their price, then we'll see where the 20 pesos will fall. Because between the 15, which is supposed to be rolling now, and which is not rolling actually, and the 20, there's that gap, What coin do you use to fill in the gap? So you may have to go to 20 pesos.
Meanwhile, the Retailers Association has confirmed its members took the decision to increase the price. Its president spoke on the AM show on Joynews.
So do you want this girl to be in business, or how much does she take home? So this is why we are going, and if we increase it to 20%, the guy is making 2 cedis. If she sells 10 bags, she's making 20 Ghana cedis. And out of that, she spends out of the 20 Ghana cedis a day. So we are not making, it is not any margin that we put on this 10%.
The sachet water producers are meanwhile calling for a regulation of the sector.
That's it for business. I'm Abigail Adumakwentri. Sports is up next.
So George Ado Jr. is here with the sports. Good evening to you, George.
Good evening, Israel. It's been a long time. Great to have you back. I've just been looking at the way you're looking. Excellent. But what's this about? See this red thing?
Okay, well, this red one, I didn't have it earlier. I forgot. I should have put it on. But it's a Go Red for Women campaign. It's supposed to promote some promotion to fight heart disease in women. And so that's why.
Okay, at least that's it. But there's news for you as well as sports. Coach Kwesi says that he has an idea of who and who will make the squad. He's supposed to present 23. He says he knows 20. Let's first of all listen to him, then we'll come back.
Okay.
Personally believe that all coaches that have qualified to the World Cup, I mean, if not all, all the coaches should at least know at least 20 people in mind, And for me, I don't believe in limiting my scope of monitoring. I most of the time try to, add maybe 2 or 3, because you never know. From now to May, I'm personally praying that we don't get any injuries or any sickness along the line. But as to presenting the team, if we were to play even today, I'll be able to put out a 23-man squad.
All right, so very interesting coming from Coach Kwesi there. So what it means is that most of the players will be wondering, do I belong to the 20 or I have to fight for the 3?
And actually, when you think about it, you look at it, you think that, well, if you have not been called up by Kwesi in the last 5 call-ups, you probably are not part of the 20. And it's very interesting because a number of players have moved from other clubs to make sure they can play and impress the coach. And if the coach tells he already has 20, well, I know every coach has an idea. But the timing and coming out to say this, well, I'm not too sure about that.
Let's see how it pans out. What else is coming up in sports?
There's quite a lot as well in it. And then the African Under-20 Under-13 Milo Championship slated for May this year has been launched in Accra. Schools from the entire country went through various qualifiers to make the grand finale and hosted by Ashanti region. Winners of the event will compete with other winners from the continent in Kenya. Mutaz El Hout is Managing Director of Nestle Ghana Limited, and he's speaking right now. Let's have a listen to him.
It is the best partner for us because we are interested in grassroots sports, and we were interested in kids who are in school, living a healthy lifestyle and eating well. So it's a very well organized entity, and it's collaborating with them gives us the access to organize a big event like this. Absolutely, and we've proven that as per today's documentary, all these great talents from the Ghanaian football that have developed through programs like this, and we're proud to be associated with those champions.
Ambassador and former captain of the Black Stars, Stephen Appiah, expressed his delight at the number of stars churned out of this competition and is looking forward to a lot more talents being discovered for the nation.
I think that as the message, I've been there before, and now God has put me in a different level. So I think that most of these guys, they look after us. So things like this, I think I have to associate myself to it because at the end of the day, these young talents, when they see us, it motivates them, it gives them the chance to think that they can make it in life in terms of football. So I think that it's a good cause that I have to associate myself with. Well, I'm going to motivate the boys. I'm going to send a message. I think that at times, things like this, you don't have to talk much, but as I said, they seeing Stephen Appiah is something huge for them, so it's going to lift their spirit. So I'm happy that I will be there, and we'll see what will happen in Kumasi.
All right.
Capitano.
In other news, over the weekend in the EPL,
tell me.
Chelsea won, Arsenal lost
to Liverpool by 5-1.
Man U drew.
Well, I have to say congratulations. Your team is doing very well. Chelsea looked like winning the Premier League title. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but we're downplaying.
Yes, I know you're downplaying. I'm not too sure about David's Manchester United. He's out there. You know our director, David.
That's our director.
Very interested with that.
And he wished he was going to take us off.
Well, for Arsenal, I'm not too sure. And he's telling us that our credit is run out already. It's just because Manchester United is not doing very well. That'll be over sports. My name is George Adijuna. It's great to have Israel back.
Thank you very much.
He'll join us with some more news. Think good, man.
Right.
Sports.
It's 4 days to Valentine's Day, and dresses, especially the red-colored ones, seem to have become scarce on the market. This was the vision of our showbiz crew that went out to investigate the relevance of the color red on Valentine's Day.
I'm in love with you now. You were always on my mind. Said I'm in love with you now. And I promise on my life. I'm in love with you now. What else? Now. Girl, I'm in love with you now.
Apart from traditional funerals where the color red dominates what is worn, Valentine's Day in the past saw a lot of people wearing the color red, which is seen as depicting love. The color dominates fashion on the day, seen by the dresses worn by the young and old. But the question is it really relevant? Some sample opinions indicate they wear red because of the day.
Since the celebration of Valentine, it has been red, matters of the heart. In all the drawings, when you look at the heart, the shape of a heart is red. So that is the color that has been chosen for this particular day as Valentine. I don't have much to say about it. That is the color chosen for it. So we are all going by it. These days they said they are even changing it to chocolate day. And what is the color? Brownish. And what is the color of the wrapper of the chocolate? It's red. What we came to see is red. So I think it's perfect color for the day.
Personally, I'm not a fan of the color red, but it's just something for everyone. So, it's a loving color for everyone, but personally, not at all.
Others think differently.
It's something that stands out in everywhere you go. Red is a color that stands in every darkness, right? And for women, they see red as something that is instituted in them. When I'm talking about red, you know what I'm talking about. And when they see red, they know that because it's Valentine, men have to do what they have to do to make them what happy they want. So for red, that is their color. And they want to enjoy red. And that is why they enjoy Valentine, because it's red.
People see it to be like a day that you put on certain things, like that color, to tell your spouse or to tell somebody that you are in love. But red particular, is a certain color that if you put it on, people see that yes, this person is red, or this person is really going through certain problems or whatever it is. But red for me per se, it is not necessary that you have to wear red to mean that on that particular day is a Val's Day.
Well, the question remains unanswered. Is the color red relevant on Valentine's Day?
Well, my red here means something else. Going red for women to help fight heart disease in women. That's it for showbiz. The top stories we've been looking at this evening: pharmacies and chemists threatening a return to the days of cash and carry for national health insurance subscribers as bulk pharmaceutical suppliers carry on with threats to suspend supplies over unpaid debts. Presby moderator blames weaknesses in governance on ministers and other government appointees schooling during official hours. Center for Freedom and Accuracy casts doubts over plans announced by the Bank of Ghana to halt the rapid depreciation of the Ghana cedi and proposes market solutions rather than command and controls. Cabinet has meanwhile giving its blessing to the central bank's measures. And 44 persons have completed filing of nominations to contest various executive positions in the New Patriotic Party. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israelite. Have a good evening.